The Premier League 24-25 season is about to kick off, and you know what that means. We are back to do some score predictions ahead of game week 1, match day 1 of the new Premier League season, and what is being billed is probably one of the most exciting Premier League campaigns we're going to see. From top to bottom in the table, we've had so many interesting transfers and managerial changes, and it all gets kicked off on Friday night as Man United host Fulham. This is nowhere near a full-strength Man United team. Erik ten Hag knows it himself. He's admitted as much. He's already lowered that expectation bar that Man United fans might have had coming in to the opening game of the season here. And they're going to be taking on a Fulham side that were very exciting, very interesting last year, and really gung-ho in the right moments. They're definitely a team that can score punches and bunches, and really, we're not a pushover throughout all of last season. They've got a big game goalkeeper. They've got some players like Emil Smith-Rowe and Andy Pereira here who have a bit of magic in their boots. This is not going to be an easy game. I think one thing that goes without saying for this match is that it's going to be both teams to score. I think both teams are definitely going to find the back of the net in this one. Friday night under the floodlights at Old Trafford, which is, a very important and, monumental stadium in English football. I don't think there's any getting away from that. Man United are still the favourites for this one. I think they're going to score 2 goals. I don't think they've quite get 3 in their locker, and I don't think they'll settle for just the 1. I think Man United will get 2 in this. But Fulham, like I said, I think they're going to go punch for punch. I think they're going to be in amongst it with Man United in this one, and I could see this one ending up being a 2 each draw. And it's been a long time, but Ipswich are back in the Premier League, and they are the early kick-off on Saturday as they host Arne Slot's Liverpool. Now, Kieran McKenna staying as the manager of Ipswich was probably the number one piece of business that they've done in the summer transfer window. But this is a squad that was lean and mean at Portman Road, first game back in the Prem, and Liverpool being a bit of an unknown element under Arne Slot. This has the potential to be the banana skin result of the weekend. Liam Delap has got a high reputation, as well as Omari Hutchison. Arajan at Muric, as we know, is a big game, big wall of a goalkeeper that could make the difference. But it still does feel very much like a championship team. And if we compare and contrast that with the Liverpool predicted 11, it does, it feels like Liverpool are going to have a couple of goals in this one. And I think the first goal is going to be the real sliding moments. If Ipswich can open the scoring and put a bit of pressure, put Liverpool on the back foot, then this result really could go either way. Maybe like a draw or something like that could happen for Ipswich. But if Liverpool get the first goal, you've got a feeling that maybe the floodgates will come open and we'll see some of that total Dutch football happen for Liverpool to replace the former German gegenpressing of Jurgen Klopp. I'm not too sure if Ipswich have got more than 1 goal in them. I must confess, I don't watch Championship football. I didn't see much of them or any of them last year. At home, there's always that extra kind of wild card element, the early game on the television, don't get me wrong. But I think I see Ipswich scoring. I think they do open the scoring on this one as well and make it quite tricky for Liverpool. But whether it's the bench or whether it's a quick response, I think Liverpool might just have a wee bit too much. And ultimately, they're going to probably come away from this game with the victory. I'm going to go for Liverpool to win this by 3 goals to 1. For the last 2 seasons, they've been the bridesmaid, but this year, Arsenal, they want to be the bride. They want to go all the way and win the Premier League this year. And that has been the main focus, the main agenda for everything Arsenal in the pre-season leading up to this. And coming into the weekend, they're actually the biggest favourite to get the victory this Premier League weekend. And as we see the predicted lineup for Arsenal here, again, a lot of familiar faces. I think we really know what to expect from them at the Emirates. But they're playing a Wolves team that, if you remember the opening game of last season, it was Wolves v Man United, and Wolves were robbed in that game. And Wolves under Gary O'Neill last season were very, very impressive. So not to be written off entirely. But I do feel that with Calafiori coming in, I know Zinchenko's had a great pre-season and he'll start. But it feels like the defence might have an extra level of resilience on them on this year. On last, the season previous to that, Saliba and Gab Mag, they had injuries and whatnot. So it feels like this will be the 3rd season of that defence getting extra solidified, and maybe they keep less goals out and ultimately try and keep some results going their way. And with the development of Havertz in this kind of false 9 role, starting the season with that solution kind of being in place for the squad, I think some of the mistakes they made last year, they could iron out. But I don't think this Wolves team is going to make it easy work for them, with Jorgen Strand Larsen, Rodrigo Gomez in the squad, as well as Matthias Cunha being fit and available for the squad. Maybe he comes off the bench. Adding in Hwang Hee-chan, Bellegarde off the bench, Guedes off the bench, Pablo Sarabia, Ryan Ait-Nouri. Wolves are going to stay in nice and deep and compact in this game, and they're just going to spring into counter-attack with 2 or 3 guys. And I don't think Wolves are I don't think they're going to be a write-off in this game. I think they're going to give as good as they get, and Arsenal are not going to have an easy day at the office. But Wolves defensively is where they've lost key players and where they've not made any key additions yet in this summer transfer window. So I do think it bodes well for Arsenal to be quite open and be attacking, and Wolves will let them do that for the most part. And I do think Arsenal will breach, they will get through Wolves. I think they could score 4, I really do. I think that this could be one of those games where Arsenal get 1 or 2 kind of quickly, and then as the game goes on, maybe if Wolves, maybe they get a little fight back goal or something. But as the game wears on, I think Arsenal might just, maybe 4's a wee bit much. I'm going to go for Arsenal to win this by 3-1. Newcastle have not made as many headlines this summer transfer window compared to the last 2. But coming into this season, I feel the confidence is really high at St James's Park. And as long as they can keep the majority of their stars, there's still a lot of faith and confidence that the transfer business that they have done and they are yet to do will be enough to see them challenge in for the Champions League spots again, get back into the European places where they feel that they belong at the tippy top of the table. And when we look at the predicted 11, Geordies are going to be really happy to see Joe Linton. I think a lot of Geordies are going to be really happy to see this back four with Nick Pope as well. And this does feel like it could be a hallmark, a quintessential Eddie Howe Newcastle performance where we're seeing, for me, the best strike partnership in European football, or one of them at the very least. Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak. If Gordon makes it, he's still 50-50. Let's see how the team sheet actually comes out. But I think both of these players, Bruno Guimaraes, Joelinton, I think we could see a real swashbuckling end-to-end affair, what we're used to seeing with Eddie Howe's Newcastle over the last couple of years, against a Southampton team that are going to be prepared to play football that way. Look to be coming into this with a 3-5-2, a 3-4-3, however you want to think of it as. And Southampton have got that kind of Burnley feel from last year where they're going to play their style of football, win, lose or draw, and they're going to give it their best every single game. But looking at the engine room and who they're going to look to for goals, I'm not too sure they're going to actually score against Newcastle. One of the things that separated Newcastle from the rest when they did make it into the Champions League was their defensive record. And I think we might see a game here that sets Newcastle on their way to scoring lots of goals like they did last year and conceding much, much less like they did the season prior to that. I'm going to go for Newcastle to win this by 4-0. I think they're going to score 1 or 2 quite quickly. I don't think Southampton have got much of a hope of beating Nick Pope. And when St James's Park gets rocking, Newcastle score punches and bunches. Once 1 or 2 goes in quickly, I think 3 or 4 is definitely on the cards. And I think Newcastle could make the headlines this weekend. Expectations seem to be quite muted around Nottingham Forest after staving off relegation, keeping in the league, and have managed to hold on to their stars, have not went out and bought 24 players in this summer transfer window. So they feel a much more settled squad, a much more known entity coming into this season. And looking at their predicted 11, looking at how they're looking to shape up for this season, like they do have quality players in all the right places, but they really did struggle to get that cohesion together and really string a significant run of results together. And they'll be facing off against a Bournemouth team that under Andoni Iraola made a lot of headlines last year for showing lots of green shoots of progress, but with the recent loss of Dominic Solanke and Ivan Nilsson or Unal, there's no real doppelganger, no real replacement ready for this game. This might be the perfect time for Nottingham Forest to play a team like Bournemouth, where they're maybe going to be, I don't want to say toothless, but they've maybe lost a big bit of their ammunition for putting the ball in the back of the net, because both these teams, they are quite hard to split. I think Bournemouth score in this game, no two ways about it, but I do think Nottingham Forest are going to win it, so I'm going to go for Forest to win this by 2-1. Now, Everton performed miracles last year to not get relegated no matter how many points the Premier League took off them. And when you compare the results from last year and you try and look at the teams for this season who might do better or who might, put the cat in amongst the pigeons and upset the natural order of things, Everton are being overlooked a little bit too much for my liking. I really like the addition of Jake O'Brien. I really like the fact that they've held on to Jared Brandthwaite. And front to back, top to bottom, this team is full of hard-working players that are Premier League level. And as long as they're all singing from the same hymn sheet and they're all buying into the manager's philosophy and playing well as a team, they've got the beating of a lot of sides in the Premier League this year. And opening the season at Goodison Park against a Brighton team who are really exciting, who have been really busy in this window and do have a lot of stardust and a lot of elite caliber players in many, many significant positions in their squad. They do have a bit of an unknown manager, the guy that got St. Pauli promoted from Bundesliga 2 to the Bundesliga. Coming to the Premier League is a different step up in trip. So although Brighton do have this kind of glow around them, everyone's quite optimistic around them, again, I want to see it. I want to see the proof in the pudding before I think, oh yeah, Brighton could be back in terms of trying to get into that top 7, trying to get into that top 6, top 8, whatever it might be. But when you see Minty, Mitoma and Pedro in support of whoever they end up starting an attack, probably going to be Rutter in time. We see Danny Welbeck here. You do feel that Brighton have got a lot of goals. So depending on how this game goes, this could be the immovable object versus the irresistible force. This could be a 0-0, a 1-1. I do feel that a draw is maybe on the cards here. I'm going to go for a Desmond Tutu. I think Everton are going to want to come out and try and score some goals in this one, but I do think Brighton they're having to have enough stardust in their team where they might get past Everton to keep this game nice and tight. And I'm going to go with, Everton 2, Brighton 2. And one of the most exciting games for the opening match day of the Premier League for me is last season's dark horses versus maybe this season's dark horses, as we see Julian Lopetegui's West Ham host Aston Villa. West Ham have been making all the headlines with their very quick glow-up, remodel, refurbishment of their squad, however you want to think of it as, by adding in really Champions League level players into their squad that totally changes the makeup of how they can play and how far they could really go this season in the Premier League. I mean, we look at the predicted 11, they're definitely not all the way there in terms of being full strength. Newly crowned club captain Jared Bowen, I think, is going to be on for a good year alongside the likes of Paqueta and Kudus supporting Fulkrug. That feels like a really top-end attacking department there. And when we see Todibo come into the defence, maybe that'll be for another day, but we might see them become a little bit more defensively resilient than what we've seen in recent years. But comparing that to Aston Villa, who were scoring 3 goals or more on a regular basis in Europe, in the Cups, in the league, everywhere, I don't think you can expect that to change. Although they've sold players like Douglas Luiz and Diaby, this team looks like it's set to pick up really from where Unai Emery left off last year. And for me, this is going to be absolutely end-to-end. This is going to be the game on Saturday night. Everyone's tuning into, everyone's saying, oh my God, I can't believe the scoreline. I can't believe what's happened. And really, it could be absolutely anything. I'm going to go for, I don't even know if I could pick a winner out of this, but I'm going to go for a draw, a high-scoring draw. So I think that's going to lead me to West Ham 3, Aston Villa 3. Now, when it comes to Premier League football, if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. And that is definitely the feeling I get when I look at Brentford versus Crystal Palace. Brentford very much feel like they are now in that standing still position. All their attackers are linked to move away. They've made no major incomings. And they're facing off against a Crystal Palace team who were standing still for a very long time with Roy Hodgson. But after the appointment of Ole Glasner, they are very firmly moving forward. And looking at the Brentford team, not really changing from last season. Very reliant on the goals of Ivan Toney and the work rate of their forwards. I don't think they're going to get any joy against this Ole Glasner Crystal Palace team that is going to upset the apple cart this year, is going to get into the European spots this season. And with Eze, Kamada, Mateta, that front trident that they've got there, supported by the wing-backs of Mitchell and Munoz, I really do feel that there's not going to be a team in the Premier League that's going to be comfortable playing Crystal Palace. And with a team like Brentford who are quite stagnant, I think this could be a one-way situation. Now, with the likes of Toney and Mbeumo, Brentford should score a goal or two in this game. I don't think Crystal Palace get out with it with a clean sheet, but Crystal Palace want to play transition football. They want to go front to back quickly. They want to cause problems. They want to ask questions of the opposition, and quite frankly, they're not going to stop at that endeavour. They're going to use their bench really well also, and I could see Crystal Palace winning this by 3-1. And the headline fixture of match day 1 for the Premier League this weekend has to be Chelsea at Stamford Bridge hosting the champions Manchester City. We've all been watching, I think grinning, or if you're a Chelsea fan, watching it through your fingers for the transfer business that's happened this summer. But the Enzo Maresca Chelsea era is going to kick off facing his former master Pep Guardiola in a game that is tough to call. Chelsea in this game last year made it a 4-each draw, and I think every time I had Chelsea written off, they got some sort of moderately famous result to kind of keep the Wolves away from the Pochettino door last season. So you can't really write Chelsea off. And when you've got a front three that consists of Nkunku and Palmer, really every defence in the league should be worried that coming up against them. A really solid midfield here, and a defence that really I do feel that one of them is probably going to get injured in this game. It's a team that is really difficult to get the measure of, no two ways about it. But I don't really feel that same problem when I look at the Man City team. If Savio starts alongside Doku in the wide areas, this could be the next iteration of Pep Guardiola football where it's proper incisive wingers. We really do see that Mahrez replacement. We really do feel that Doku on the other side is given that same incision. And when you've got De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva going to be free to roam around the pitch and do what they want, I think this will be one of those games that afterwards people are saying, oh yeah, City are definitely going to win the league again. I know a lot of people have City as the favourites, but I think some people hold out hope that maybe they're going to go a bit stagnant. Maybe the loss of Julian Alvarez is a little bit bigger. Maybe the court case thing might hang over them. But I think when the whistle gets blown and the match kicks off and it's all about the football is when Man City are going to turn up. But I do feel that Chelsea are good for a goal or two in this one. I think Chelsea scored 2, but I think Man City are going to score that little bit more. I'm going to go for Man City to win this by 4-2. Haaland hat-trick, De Bruyne man of the match. And for Monday Night Football, we've got the return to the Premier League of Leicester, really getting into this yo-yo club situation, hosting Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur. And Ange Season 2 is what all the Tottenham fans have been waiting for, and every former club of Ange will tell you the second season is way better than the first. And Tottenham last year made so many headlines and were able to dream the biggest dreams possible. Maybe they'll get the chance to do that again, because looking at the Leicester predicted 11 here, I don't think this is going to be up to scratch at all for cutting it in the Premier League. With the greatest respect to some of these guys like Harry Winks and one or two others, I just don't think they're going to have enough in them to handle Tottenham this weekend or Monday night, or really as we go across the Premier League season. I just don't think they've got enough cutting edge in them. There is some surprise players that could step up, level up and make a bit of a difference. It's a wee bit unforeseen at this stage. But when you look at the task they've got this weekend to stop Big Dom Solanke in the box being supported by Kulusevski, Son and Maddison, with the inverted fullback of Udogie, with Pedro Porro bombing on, this game feels like for Monday night it could be the perfect way to end match day one. It could be a real spectacle, a real feast of football for all the football fans out there. And for me, this is only going to be a Tottenham win. I'm not even sure Leicester get a goal in this one. I think this could be one-way traffic. We could see Tottenham win this, I think, by 3-0. Tottenham's biggest problem last year was scoring 2 goals or more. So I do think they get 3 in this one. I think Solanke could even get a hat-trick in this one. And if that was the case, I could still see somebody like Son or Kulusevski or whatever chipping in. Sod it, I'm going to go for it. Tottenham are going to win this by 5-0. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to jump into the comments section and let me know about my predictions. What do you think of them? What are your big predictions ahead of the weekend? On screen and now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share and retweet and all that good stuff, guys. If at any point in the video you did laugh, learn, like something or whatever, I don't know. Have a great weekend, enjoy the football, and I'll catch you on the next one.